This has got to be the most excited I've been for an aquarium in a really long time. My name is Logan Rando, and today we are planting my UNS 35A aquarium. This is a tank I'm going to be planting with only epiphytic plants that will showcase the natural beauty of lots of different species of Anubias and Bucephalandra. So without further ado, let's get started with today's video where we'll plant the UNS 35A. So I've been waiting about 5 weeks to plant this tank. I just finished running a dark start, and if you'd like to see the other videos in this tank's playlist, go ahead and check those out. That'll be linked down in the video description. But I ran a very successful dark start, and in order to prepare the tank for planting, we're gonna do a light maintenance session. So because the light was off during the dark start, we built up beneficial bacteria, but we're not gonna have to deal with really any algae. The only thing we have is some biofilm on the hardscape. This is extra common with wood and just the product of having life in your tank. So because it's unsightly, we're gonna scrub it off and also clean the glass to get this bad boy sparkling clean for the planting. Additionally, we're gonna do a large water change because I really prefer to plant dry, especially in the case of epiphytic plants where we're primarily gonna be gluing things. So as I mentioned before, we're gonna be showcasing epiphytic plants, and I'm very grateful to Boost Plant for sending me a beautiful collection of Anubias bucephalandras, as well as some Bolbitis that we're going to be attaching with a cyanoacrylate based superglue. So if you're in the market for some beautiful epiphytes, as well as all sorts of other plants and equipment, go ahead and check out Boost Plant. They've got pretty much anything you can need to start a tank. So the first plant we're going to be working with today is called Anubias non-petite, and it's one of the most common species of Anubias. It's also one of the more small species of Anubias. Some species can be very, very large, like the Cophifolia, so the non-petite is absolutely perfect for a nanoscape or a scape where you want to really maintain a nice sense of scale. I'm using a gel type cyanoacrylate based superglue to adhere the Anubias into place. What you want to do is put some globs of superglue on the rhizome of the plants as well as the roots, and then you want to press it down onto the piece of hardscape you want to adhere it to. And I recommend holding for about 15 seconds just to make sure it's on there. Thankfully, cyanoacrylate based superglue cures quite quickly, but just to be safe, really press firmly and make sure you don't damage the leaves when you're pressing. I recommend wearing gloves when you're doing this process, that way you won't glue your fingers together. Ask me how I know about that. Between plantings, especially with epiphytic plants, it's really important to give them a nice spray down so that they don't dry out. Next up, we're gonna add a really cool, more rare species of Anubias called Anubias minima dragonclaw. And this species is characterized by more of a crinkled leaf look, so we'll have some nice textural contrast between the non-petite, which is gonna make up the bulk of our planting, in this little species right here. So I'm putting it in a prime spot, sort of in line with the rule of thirds, where it can kind of showcase its beauty and its contrast from the other plants. And now it's time to move on to the Bucephalandra. So just like the Anubias minima dragonclaw, these are from tissue culture and they're in absolutely immaculate condition. If you've never worked with tissue culture plants before, I highly recommend you give them a try. They're guaranteed to be algae-free, pest-free, and snail-free. So they're really great for sterile conditions, and while they look a lot smaller than potted plants, you often get a really dense quantity that you can spread out all over a new tank. So just like with the Anubias non-petite, I'm placing the Bucephalandra ketagang all over the tank. It's gonna contrast really nicely from the Anubias because the Anubias is kind of like that Ninja Turtle green and the Bucephalandra has more blue hues, and the leaves can almost get like an interesting phosphorescent look to them and can have white little dots. I'm also mixing in some Bucephalandra ketagang round mini. This is a smaller variety of the regular ketagang where the leaves are a little bit more elongated and narrow and smaller. So I think by mixing that in, we'll kind of add to that nuance and really establish a natural, diverse planting look. And with all of our Anubias and Bucephalandra in place, it's time to get to the next part. I'm gonna be working with a plant I really don't have much experience at all with. And this is a variety of Bolbitis called Bolbitis mini, aka Bolbitis heteroclita deformis. And this is a little bit of a controversial plant in the hobby. Many hobbyists claim that it's terrestrial only, but it's often marketed and sold as an aquatic plant. And my good friend Yuri says I'm probably gonna have some trouble with it and that it'll be stunted for a while and eventually die off. So I didn't really know any of this before I purchased the plant, but because I'm using it today and I really want to experiment and see how it does, I'm gonna leave it in the tank, and if it starts to die off, I can always replace it with something else really cool, like a Hygrophila penittifida or a Java fern, you know, something else that will work really well epiphytic. But as you can see, it's an absolutely gorgeous plant that kind of has like a fern-like look to it. So if you want to err on the side of caution and guarantee yourself more success, use this plant in a terrarium or with some immersed growth like a paludarium. But I'm taking the risk because I already purchased the plant, and I will keep you guys and gals updated over the next few weeks to see how this plant develops, because if it does end up thriving in this setup, I think it's just going to look absolutely beautiful as it spreads out. So with all of our planting complete, it's time to flood the tank, take a step back, and observe. And I am so hyped for this tank. I love the way it looks. I've never had this many incredible materials to work with, and a lot of that is a product of the support you guys have given me. While this channel is still really small, it's gotten enough attention where I've attracted the support of amazing partners like Bucephalandra, who make it possible for me to work with such beautiful hardscape and equipment and all these awesome plants. So I really hope you're enjoying the content. I'm having such a blast setting up all these aquariums in my San Diego space, and I really look forward to updating you on this one as it develops. But before you go, I got a quick question for you. Because we ran the Dark Star for 5 weeks, which is on the longer side, this tank is totally cycled and ready for livestock, and I gotta hear your opinion. I'm leaning towards going with something red because I think it's gonna look really cool against that black background, but I'm open-minded. So I'm thinking definitely a teeny tiny little nanofish and also some shrimp. So what species do you recommend that you think would look dope in this aquarium? As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and spread the word about my channel, and I'll catch you guys and gals next time.